Hello, I'm Louisa Smith, and I'm the author of a new book by C&T Publishing called Double Vision Quilts. This book has numerous ideas for you to create, but above all, it has very many different methods of construction. The different methods of construction will be good for a traditional quilter, an art quilter, as well as the modern quilter. Today, I'm going to show you just one of those methods that would be the one of the quilt behind me that will be easy to construct in a 1, 2, 3 method. So why don't we get started? What you should know about double vision quilts is that it's all about hugs and kisses. Hugs and kisses, just like people, come in many different sizes. They're skinny, they're fat, they're tall, they're short, they're elongated, any way you want it. So what I want to show you now is that if you work with kisses and hugs, you can manipulate the blocks. So the quilt behind me is made out of 48 squares that are about 6.5 by 6.5 each. And by manipulating the corners of those squares, we will create the following. So there is your kiss, which I've just explained to you, and by covering up 3/4 of that kiss, you end up with what I call a quarter kiss. Quarter kisses can be made in 2 different ways. If you add 4 little ones around a square, they would make that square a circle. If you add 2 largest ones on that square, you end up with an elliptical shape like this one right here. So, what I want you to know is the quilt behind me is just that, created with the squares and, like I said, manipulating the corners. However, there's one important point you have to remember. You need an A block and you need a B block. The A block is made this way, and let me explain. There is the 4 kisses. I'm going to take them off so you can see how this manipulates the block right there. There's my square of fabric, and once I put 4 corners on it, what happens? I turn that square of fabric, or manipulate it, as I said, into a circle. The only difference is that they overlap. You can see how they slightly overlap. And if you overlap them in the right order, in other words, either all clockwise or all counterclockwise, you end up with an A and a B block. And that's the most important thing of the whole quilt. Because once you have that down packed, you just sew your blocks together and you create the quilt behind me. However, if you see in the quilt behind me, there is a border. The border is made out of the same size squares, but as I showed earlier, has that elliptical shape. So you're using larger pieces on the corner. So your quarter kiss is a larger one. And that's it. You're totally done. Before I leave, I'd like to just show you 2 more things. One is that if you're a grandmother like myself and you want to make a baby quilt really, really fast in a, say, an I Spy kind of way, then this is what you do. You just take those squares of fabric to have an image, and then you can manipulate the pieces on the edges. And another thing I want to point out before we're done is that I do stitch around the blocks, and the stitching around the blocks is done with a satin stitching, but you can use a buttonhole stitch or anything your heart desires. And if I turn this over, you'll see that I also use paper when I do that to keep them nice and flat. So I hope you will create many double vision quilts and that you have a real good time doing this. Thank you.